I'm sharing 6 beginner-friendly projects made with the xTool M1 Ultra. This is an incredibly versatile machine with all kinds of accessories and add-ons that allow you to do so many different projects. So we're going to use a bunch of those accessories to create 6 beginner projects that you can start making right now. Hey, I'm Sarah. You're watching Creative Ramblings. I have a lot of laser videos on this channel, and I am here to empower you to use your laser and make whatever your heart desires. Today, we're focused on the xTool M1 Ultra. This is a 4-in-1 DIY machine that is so much more than just a laser. So we're going to break down 6 beginner projects using all of the different functions of this machine. If you want a good overview of what this can do and all the different parts, I do have a couple other videos linked down below. You may want to start there to learn a little more. Without further ado, let's dive into the first project. Our first project is a cupcake topper that is printed and cut with the blade. Inside the M1 Ultra, I have the main cartridge here with the blade already installed. This is our ink cartridge. So I'm going to start by taking the bottom off. We're going to put that aside for just a second. And I'm going to slide the back of this into here. Push it down until it clicks. We're going to plug the side into the port and then lock everything. This item right here comes with your ink module. You've got some paper in a little slot. And this slides down in the corner right here. There's a little handle that it sits over, and then the cover that we took off sits in the slot there. Now, since we're working with paper, we need to put the mat down. This is the standard cutting mat. It's 2-sided, and I'm going to use this side. So on the back here, I'm going to take off the protected film and place this on the bottom. It's just going to stick there gently for me. Once it's stuck down really well, then I can pull up the top protective coating. And now I can place a piece of white cardstock on there and get started. Here in xTool Creative Space, I have brought in this little number 3. I found this on Creative Fabrica. It has numbers 0 through 9. I'll link it down below. But I'm going to turn this into a cupcake topper. The other thing I want to do is make a little circle around it because we are going to print the number 3 and then cut out the circle around it. I'm going to move my canvas down so we can see everything. So this is what I want it to look like. So let's tell the machine what to do. On the very top where it says lasering on flat surface, we want to come down and pick the appropriate function. The M1 Ultra has a lot of functions. Since we are doing both ink and blade, we want to click multi-module processing. My machine is connected over here on the right. So down on the bottom, let's pick that oval. And under module, I'm going to choose fine point blade. And then for the number 3 under module, I'm going to choose ink module. And I have found that about 80% intensity is going to work just fine for me, but you can play around with that and see what works for you. Up here on the top, I have picked white cardstock. Let's confirm that. And I do want to modify the parameters a little bit for the fine point blade. I am going to do a better or a higher cutting pressure. As you use your blade more, it may dull a little bit, so that recommended pressure may work fine for you. I know I need to up mine to get a good pressure. The M1 Ultra does not have a camera, so we need to mark exactly where we want this to print. So up on top, I'm going to click Mark and Rectangle, and then open up my machine and put that red crosshair on the top right, click the button on the front, and then move it down a little bit, click the button on the front again. So now I have a rectangle. And I just want to make sure my number 3 and my oval, which I'm going to highlight and group together, I just want to make sure those are on the paper within that rectangle. So everything is good to go. Let's hit process. It's going to remind me again that I am using the fine point blade and the ink module. Just double check this, make sure that what's in the machine is actually what you want to be using. This is going to give me an estimated amount of time, and let's go ahead and start. We're going to auto measure first. Then the ink is going to come down to this part here, and it's going to test itself on the paper to make sure that it's not clogged and that the ink is coming out really well. We're going to print first, and then it's going to cut out. With the project done, there's a couple different ways you can take this off. You can just kind of peel up the paper around it and leave that cupcake topper right on there. I like to use a tool like this. It's a lifting tool to kind of help get this off. You can also curl the mat a little bit to pull it off so it doesn't curl. So we're just going to attach this to a little toothpick, and it's going to be a cupcake topper. For our next project, we are going to make a greeting card that is both blade cut and foiled. So I'm going to take this same piece of paper. I probably could have just left it on there, but we're going to put that back down and push it on. Now we need to take out the ink module. So I'm going to unplug the side, unlock it, lift it up. It's got that protective cover on the bottom, and I'm going to put this off to the side. This is the multi-function carriage. So this is going to hold a bunch of different tools. I'm just going to take the top off the front, and then we are going to put the foil transfer tip in there. This is just a protective cover on it. It's got a top with a little arrow in it. That arrow means it slides right in here, and then we close it up and put this back on top. This is much easier to do when you're holding the carriage versus when it's on here. I prefer to change it out like this. Then, just like the ink module, we slide it in. This time there's no cord to attach, but we do lock it. Also going to pull out this ink piece from before. This is a piece of the foil that comes with the transfer tip. So we're just going to cut out a small piece here. The foil is going to get taped down to the paper, and I want to leave enough room so I can cut around it. So I'm going to tape it down right about here. Over in xTool Creative Space, up on top, we've got multi-module processing selected, and I have selected white cardstock to use for this. So on the paper here, I've created a little design. This outside box is just the shape of a card, and over on the right, I've selected fine point blade, and these are the settings I'm using. One pass is going to be just fine there. Then I typed out happy birthday. And if you go to the fonts up here and scroll down, you're going to see something called single line fonts. When you choose a font like this, it's going to write in a single line. And then I just brought in a flower from over here on the right in the xTool shapes. So for both the flower and the happy birthday, if I select them both, I have the module foil transfer tip selected. It is the regular tip, and we're just outlining the line. I'm going to go with the recommended settings. So let's frame this for, oops. Now we need to mark our area. All right, I've got everything lined up perfectly. Now we can go over to process. Once again, this is reminding me that these are the things I'm working with, the fine point blade and the foil transfer tip. And we should foil first, and then we can cut. So let's hit start. So before I pull it off the mat, I'm just going to pull the foil off. Next up, we are going to use the drawing pens. There are a whole bunch of colors that come in a set, and they look like this. So we're going to make a little gift tag using the pens and the blade. We have the multi-function carriage in here. We're actually not going to use this, but I'm just going to leave it there. It's not going to harm anything. We are only going to use this main carriage here. And right now we have the fine point blade in there. I'm going to pop this out, and we're going to put our blue pen in. In order to do this, we need this pen holder here. And when you get the pens, you get this. We just slide the pen in, it snaps in place, and there's a little magnet on here. So you'll feel when it gets to be in the right place. And then we just lock it in place and put the cover back on. And this is also a magnet. Then I'm going to put a piece of cardstock down. And let's go over to xTool Creative Space. In xTool Creative Space, we're still on multi-module processing. I have chosen white cardstock, and here on my canvas, I drew kind of an oval, and then I typed out the words to and from. Then I'm going to go over to shapes. There are a lot of shapes and graphics you can choose from, and I'm just going to pick a little flower to put in here. Now I need to tell the machine what to do. So if I click off of everything, I have my options over here on the side. So we are going to start with the circle, and that is set to the fine point blade. And these are my settings here: 120 pressure, 40 speed, and 2 passes. And I'm going to go over to the words to and from. I'm going to choose drawing pen, and then I'm going to pick the color. This is helpful because it's going to tell me when to switch it out for another color. You could actually just set it to black for everything, and it doesn't matter, but it's going to help give you cues on what pen to put in. So for this, we're going to choose blue, and I'm just going to leave the settings as they are down on the bottom. You can change the pressure if you feel like your color is a little too light. Next up, we're going to the flower. I'm going to put that to drawing pen, and you have 2 options for drawing. You can line draw it, which colors the outside, or you can fill it, which fills in the whole thing. If you're familiar with Cricut at all, we don't have a color fill option on Cricut, so this is really cool to have here. I'm going to make the flower red. I'm going to use the same settings, and then just to make it easier, I'm going to group everything together. So let's go ahead and mark our position. I'm feeling good about that, so now we can process. It's telling me to put the blue pen in first, which we've already done, so we can go ahead and start. And what you'll notice here is it says start 1 of 3. So when the blue pen is done, the process is going to stop so I can switch it out for the next tool. So now it's telling me that that task is done. If I hit next, it's going to tell me to put the red pen in. So I can bring this whole thing over, pull out the blue pen, pull it out of the pen holder, and put the red pen in. And finally, we can switch it out for the blade. And we've got this great looking gift tag. The next project we're doing is only going to use the fine point blade, and this is HTV, or iron-on vinyl. So this is going to be ironed on to a tote bag. So we're going to put this on the mat upside down. And then head over to XCS. In xTool Creative Space, I am bringing in an SVG. I'm going to make it a compound vector so that it's all held together. And I want this to be about 10 inches wide. Now, when we cut heat transfer vinyl, we want to cut it from the back, which is how it's laying in the machine. So I'm going to click on this and flip it horizontally. That mirrors it. Up on top, we only need to select blade cut because we're not using anything else, so just the blade cut is fine. Machine is selected. Over here, we can choose HTV. And then I do have the fine point blade selected. There are other blades you can put in that housing, like the rotary blade or the deep blade, but we want fine point, and we're gonna go with the recommended settings for now. Let's go ahead and mark our area. And now it's time to process. Once this is done cutting, I want to peel off the whole piece of HTV, and you can kind of see the cut lines on here. We're gonna take this over and get this weeded out. Once the HTV is off the mat, we need to weed it. So what that means is just pulling off all of the excess material that we don't want to go onto our tote bag. When I flip this over, this is what it's going to look like on the bag. I've got my tote bag here. I'm gonna put a little pressing mat inside of it. You could put a towel, just something so that you have a nice smooth surface to work on here. Then we place the graphic. And this is the little heat press from xTool. I really like this. It comes as part of the kit where you can get the big heat press too, but just this mini one is really nice to have. So I've just got set it to medium heat, and then we can press this. Our next couple of projects no longer involve the blade. We're gonna go to the laser. So we need to take this mat out. I find the easiest way to do that is to grab this protective plastic, put it on top while it's still in the machine. And then we can pull it off and put the plastic on the other side. And I keep these mats on a pegboard right behind my machine here, so they're ready for next time. Now we're gonna pull out the multifunction carriage and replace that with our 10-watt laser module. It slips in place, it locks, there's no plug, and we're gonna keep it on the base plate right here. With the laser installed, we need to make sure that our ventilation is hooked up. So I have a window right here and I am venting out the window. You can also vent into an air purifier like the AP2. We don't need ventilation when we're blade cutting, but we absolutely need it when we're laser cutting. I've got a little cork coaster right here. I am just gonna place on the base plate, and I'm gonna bring those red crosshairs right over the top. Here in XCS, up on the top, we are lasering on a flat surface. That is the default setting here. Machine is connected. I also have my AP2 connected here. If you have the Bluetooth dongle plugged into the back of your M1 Ultra and your AP2 turned on, it's gonna connect automatically via Bluetooth. I've brought in this little graphic here from Creative Fabrica. I'm gonna link this below. Up on the top right, I'm going to choose cork. I want it to engrave. And the settings I'm going to use are a power of 20 and a speed of 200, and keep it at 100 lines per centimeter. I have a whole video on engraving cork with a bunch of different lasers if you want to take a look at that. Now we're going to mark. Since this is a cork circle coaster, we can mark it as a circle. And this is actually pretty easy to do. We're just going to choose 3 different points on that circle. And then we're going to auto measure. We have auto measured, and let's adjust the image to make it kind of right in the center here. We'll frame it just to make sure it's all in the right spot. That's looking really good. We can go ahead and process. For our next project, we're going to be using a piece of basswood. This is a piece of scrap I've used for a lot of different projects. I have the laser installed here, and then our fine point blade, which we're not going to use, but it just kind of stays there if we're not using it. I'm going to bring the red crosshairs right over the top of the basswood, and then we can go to xTool Creative Space. Up on the very top, I am going to scroll down to that multi-module processing. This is going to be your friend if you are ever using more than one tool. So I brought in this little pattern. This was a collection of patterns I found on Creative Fabrica. And then I made 2 circles. So we can make like a little ornament, maybe some little earrings, something like that. And I'm going to take these 2 circles and lay them over the top of this. If I select everything, I can come up to a line and center it. Up on the very top, I'm going to choose basswood. And we can set some parameters. So for cutting, 90 and 7 is going to work just fine for me. And then we don't want to engrave this. We want to come down to the ink module. And we are going to print this. I'm going to up that intensity to 80. Now we can mark our area. Select both items and bring them over here. And now we can process. Because both the laser and the ink module are in the same area, we're going to need to switch them out. So the first thing I need to do is actually take out my laser. So we're just gonna pop this off. And hopefully, as you've noticed, the more you do these projects, you're gonna see how easy it is to switch between your tools. I'm gonna pull off the bottom, put this little piece in here, lock it, and we're ready to go. So this again says start 1 of 2. We had another project like that too. When it's done printing, it's going to tell me to switch it back out for the laser. And now I'm prompted to switch this out for the laser. So we covered 6 projects you can make with the M1 Ultra, and they are not just laser projects. This truly is a DIY crafting machine that can do so much. So I hope you are feeling a little bit more confident and ready to go create some projects. If you are new to the world of lasers, definitely take a look at my free laser guide. It is linked down in the description. I have taken all of my laser knowledge and condensed it down to a 14-page little book just for you, and it is free for my newsletter subscribers, so I encourage you to check that out. If you like what you see here, I encourage you to give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I have new videos every week, plus a brand new Creative Insiders membership. Just click that join button right below this video to learn more about how you can support this channel and the extra perks you will get in return. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.